Given all else that Paul and the Bible say about obedience to the Ten Commandments, it doesn't make sense to assert here that Paul was telling the Jewish believers that the Ten Commandments were no longer binding. Those who use these texts to try and make the point that the moral law was done away with really don't want to make that point anyway. What they really want to do is say that the seventh-day Sabbath is gone, or not the rest of the law. To interpret Romans 7, 4, and 5 as teaching that the fourth commandment had been abolished or superseded or replaced with Sunday is to give them the meaning that the words were never intended to have. So let me ask you this question. When you think of the Sabbath, what law lens do you look through? If you present it as an arbitrary test of obedience, that God declared this day to be holy, and he hasn't decreed any other day holy. Until he decrees another day holy, then we're breaking the law if we don't keep the law. If we do that, what type of law are we promoting?
Enforced.
Imposed, human-type law. We're making the Sabbath function like human laws. God made a declaration. Let me ask you this. What is the importance of the Bible Sabbath? Is it a test of obedience, or is it a gift to humankind of some kind? Some time of a gift. When Jesus said the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Okay, so what was its purpose? What does the Sabbath actually do? How is it that the Sabbath is holy? What makes the Sabbath holy?
Promotes a relationship.
So how did the Sabbath, think about this for now, how did the Sabbath as a day become a day of rest? Or how did the Sabbath as a day of rest come to exist? How did that happen?
God made it holy.
God rested.
It came at the end of the week of creation.
It was constructed, designed, built, created that way. Notice that. What was associated with the creation of the Sabbath day? Was there anything going on?
Great thunders.
War.
Okay, so that was what was happening in the universe that week. There was a rebellion ongoing in the universe. What kind of rebellion? Was it a rebellion of physical might? How does anybody think that a created being, even an angelic being, could actually engage in a physical war with God? Think it through. No, he's the infinite creator of everything. It's like, you're gone. Okay? No, this was not a physical war. And in fact, in Revelation, it talks about there was war in heaven. The word used there is polemic, or polemo, where from we get polemic, which means it's a war of words, a war of ideas. Satan is the father of lies. Okay, so it's a war over who can you trust. This kind of war. And it began in heaven with angels. And the angels now have these distorted views of God being presented by Lucifer. Then God begins to create. Let there be light, let the firmament come on. Let us make man in our image. Lucifer is suggesting some things. Now, what do we learn day 1 through 6 of creation week about God? He's a creator. And what do you need to create? Power. Think about the power that was displayed. If we can take just a few grams of matter, and we take that matter, we turn it into energy, that's what we call a nuclear explosion, with just a few grams. How much energy did it take to make this whole planet? To make our sun? To make our solar system? I mean, we cannot get, it's beyond our capacity to understand the amount of power that was displayed that week. So day 1 through 6 of creation week, we learn God is powerful. But do you know the character of the one who wields power day 1 through 6? What did we learn on day 7? What did God do with power on day 7? Did he continue using power, or did he stop using power? He stepped back. He said, universe, you've heard the allegations, you've seen the evidence we've given. Now, universe, take 24 hours aside. I rest my case. No coercion, no pressure, no threat. I rest. Notice, God rested. What did he rest? He rested from giving evidence. He left his intelligent beings free to think. Why? Because God is love. Love only exists in an atmosphere of freedom. If God were to threaten and coerce, you better get in line or else I'll kill you. Look, I just showed you what I can do. I can replace you with more intelligent beings, so you better bow the knee. Love is destroyed. He doesn't do that. It's just the opposite. He steps back and says, think it through for yourself. Come to your own conclusion. No pressure, no coercion. So So what is the importance of the Sabbath? It was given to man. Man was not given to the Sabbath. So what was it given to man for? I would suggest it's a piece of evidence. An evidence that happens every week of your entire life. An evidence that circles around over and over again. This is why we are told to remember. Remember the Sabbath. Why? Because it's an evidence of creation, which is an evidence of design law, which stands as a symbolic representation of, I run my universe on the design laws. I'm not a dictator. I don't make up rules and then enforce them with threats. Now, how did Sunday become an official day of worship? How did it become an official day of worship? There's a history. It's well known. It's well documented.
Some church committee declared it.
By legislative action. What kind of law is that? That's imposed law. So the 2 days of worship stand as evidence of two methods of governing. Design law versus imposed law. Notice, the days themselves are not the methods. The days themselves are not the methods of governing. They're merely signs or evidences of the two methods. For instance, there's a flag back here. Everybody see the flag I'm pointing at over here? Okay, for those who can't see it, it's the flag of the United States. That flag is a sign or a symbol of the United States of America. Is that flag the United States of America? No, it's only a sign or a symbol. This day is a sign or a symbol. It's not the government of God. It's a sign or a symbol of a method, a design, a protocol. Can somebody actually go maybe in the military, and maybe we're in a war situation? Can someone put on the military uniform of the United States and actually have the U.S. flag on their shoulder and be working for the enemy?
Yes.
Can somebody be keeping the Sabbath and working for the enemy? Yeah, absolutely. If we teach the Sabbath as an arbitrary test of obedience, are we representing the truth about God's design law, or are we teaching an imposed law? Thus, we're promoting the Sabbath as a mark of a beastly system of coercion, if we teach it that way. Can some people keep Sunday as their day of worship, yet present the God of love and the God of truth and his design laws and his methods of governing?
Yes.
Absolutely. C.S. Lewis taught this idea in his last book of the Chronicle of Narnia series, where a Calamarian soldier named Emeth has an encounter with Aslan. Emeth was a worshiper of Tash his whole life. And here's the encounter. Emeth speaking. I fell at his feet and thought, surely this is the hour of death, for the lion will know that I have served Tash all my days and not him. What was Aslan's response? Son, thou art welcome. But I said, alas, Lord, I am no son of thine, but a servant of Tash. He answered, child, all the service thou hast done to Tash I account as service done to me. I questioned the glorious one, Lord, is it then true that thou and Tash are one? The lion growled and said, it is false, not because he and I are one, but because we are opposites. I take to me the service which thou hast done to him. For I and he are of such different kinds that no service which is vile can be done to me, and none which is not vile can be done to him. Therefore, if any man swear by Tash and keep his oath for the oath's sake, it is by me that he has truly sworn, though he has not known it. And it is I who will reward him. And if a man who does cruelty in my name, and if any man do cruelty in my name, then, though he says the name Aslan, it is Tash whom he serves, and by Tash his deed is accepted. Emeth questioned once more. Lord, I have been seeking Tash all my days. Beloved, said the glorious one, unless thy desire had been for me, thou should not have sought so long and so truly, for all find what they truly seek. Thoughts about that? Do you get what he's saying here? It's not about the labels you put on things.
But Lord, we've prophesied in your name.
We prophesied in your name. We cast out demons in your name. We perform miracles in your name. That they're doing in the name of Jesus. Get thee hence, ye workers of iniquity. I never knew you. Is it primarily about the day? Or is it about what the day represents being reproduced in the heart, mind, and character of the believers? Many Adventists are going to find themselves very shocked. In addition to the Sabbath being an evidence, and I think its primary purpose is an evidence, if God ran his universe as a dictator, there would have never been a Sabbath for us to think and consider. He wouldn't have stepped back and said, hey, I rest, think for yourself. It's an evidence of his designs and his methods and the freedoms that we have. But in addition to being an evidence of God's design law, how are we to relate to it? According to Isaiah, the Sabbath is to be called a delight, a day of celebration, rejoicing, rest, and gladness. I put out that the Sabbath really is supposed to be a weekly, every week vacation from the stressors of the sinful world, to set aside the burdens, to unwind, to relax, to rejuvenate in a relation with your God. That's what it's for. You don't have to feel guilty if you don't do the laundry, or if you have homework. You can put it all aside and rest, and all the stressors and work that you're under every week, you get to take a day off. But imagine if you went to your favorite beach resort to relax on vacation, and once you arrived there, it was taken over by terrorists who held you there against your will. How relaxing and enjoyable would that vacation be? Same beach. Why is it no longer enjoyable? Because your freedom was just taken away. When we present the Sabbath as an arbitrary test of obedience, as a day of restriction of liberty, a day in which we can't do this and we can't do that, a day if you do the wrong thing it will go against you in the heavenly courts, we misrepresent God's law, misrepresent his character, undermine trust, destroy the purpose of the Sabbath, and thus we come to observe the day of the Lord that we crucify. And we want him off the cross by sunset so we can keep the day. So I'd say the lesson is correct in that Paul was not doing away with the Ten Commandments. He was doing away with the legal understanding of sin and salvation and putting the commandments in their proper place as a diagnostic instrument. So if the Sabbath is not a day of rest, joy, rejuvenation, recovery, if the Sabbath is a day of fear, insecurity, worry about whether you did this or whether you did that, then the commandments are helpful to let you know there's more healing to happen in your heart.